This is going to be a review for the week 8 information for the lower extremity. We're going to combine some of the ligaments that we can see on the picture, and then I've drawn in some of them as well too for the ones that we can't see. So pause. Okay, so the first thing we see is connecting our our ilium to the femur. So that is iliofemoral ligament, the one connecting our pubic bone here down to the femur, pubofemoral. From ASIS to the pubic tubercle down here, we see the inguinal ligament. Okay, it's got the number 4 around it. Number 3 is pointing to the lacunar ligament, and yes, I have drawn that in. Here we can see 1. What was that? Right, that is pubofemoral. 2, what was that? Iliofemoral, because it's connecting these structures together. Okay, what was this guy? This one. And then this one I've drawn in on the pectineal line. So number 3, inguinal ligament. Number 4, lacunar ligament. And then number 5 will be the pectineal ligament because it's on the pectineal line. Now when we look at this from the posterior aspect, we know it's posterior because we can see the ischium. And that lets us know that this is connecting ischium to femur. So this must be the ischiofemoral ligament. Okay, number 1, anterior superior iliac spine. Number 2, anterior inferior iliac spine. Number 3, the iliac fossa. Number 4, it's our arcuate line. It's what you see dotted here in black. Okay. Number 5, this dotted line right through here. This is our pectineal line. Number 10, this is the superior pubic rami. Number 11 is the pubic tubercle. All right, and then we get to some of the features of the two bones joined together. So when we have 2 or more coxal bones together, those are part of the os coxates. And so we're going to see here the structure at number 9, this enlargement of bone right through here. You see how it kind of bulks up a little bit? That is the iliopubic eminence because it's combining these 2 structures together and projecting out. Number 7, we can see the spine. Okay, we can see the spine pretty clearly, just kind of poking out right through there. So just our ischial spine. Number 6 is referring to this blue line, which is crossing the ilium, okay, and then also the pubic bone. So this is that iliopectineal line. So iliopectineal line is number 6. And then number 8 here, this is actually referring to the line that connects all the way around. Okay, this is the linea terminalis. We'll see that in parentheses as the pelvic brim. Now we're looking at the lateral aspect of the hip joint, or the os coxates, however you want to say it or name it. And that should be pretty apparent because we see the structure here, which is the acetabulum. We should know this is anterior because we see the pubic tubercle. And we should know that this is posterior because we see the ischial spine back here. Okay? So number 13, anterior superior iliac spine. 12, anterior inferior iliac spine. Number 1 is the lunate surface of the acetabulum. Number 2 is our acetabular fossa. And then we see this structure here, which is our acetabular notch. It's the space between the 2 parts of the lunate. We can see our superior pubic rami, pubic tubercle. We see our inferior pubic rami. And then we can see the rami of the ischium, ischial tuberosity, ischial spine. This is the greater sciatic notch. I didn't draw that in, but that's what that is. Number 11 is posterior inferior iliac spine. 10 is our posterior superior iliac spine. We then have number 14, which is our iliac crest. 15, which is our iliac tubercle. And then we get into some lines that can be challenging to see at times. And when we look at that, we see it listed as just the gluteal lines. There'll be one that's up here by 15. It really will be more of a line kind of around here. It's really what that is, kind of by the iliac tubercle, but the difference is that it's a line all the way across. Okay, so number 18 is meant to represent that superior. Then we have the middle gluteal line, and then we have the inferior gluteal line just in that area. Okay, so pause, try to name everything you can. See if you can name it as quick as I'm tagging them. right, so number 1, we have the lunate surface. 2 is the acetabular fossa. 3 is the acetabular notch. 4 is superior pubic rami. 5 is the pubic tubercle. 6 is the inferior pubic rami. 7 is the pubic or the rami of the ischium. 8 is the ischial tuberosity. 9 is the posterior superior iliac spine. 10 is our posterior inferior iliac spine. Number 17 is inferior gluteal line. This is the location of the middle gluteal line. Number 15 is the superior gluteal line. Number 14 is our ischial tuberosity, the iliotuberosity. And then number 13 is where we see the iliac crest. Okay. Now we're looking on the medial surface of the ilium and the pubic bone and the ischium. So here we can see the iliac tuberosities. Okay, remember that'll be on the medial side and there'll be lots of bumps in this area. 2, we see the articular surface. 3, we see the iliac fossa. On the opposite side, that same area, if we look at it from here, like from the top down to the bottom, this is the ala. Okay, so the ala is on the lateral side. The iliac fossa is on the medial side. You got to remember this is anterior this way because we can see the pubic bone here. So this is anterior superior iliac spine, anterior inferior iliac spine. We can see the eminence, the structure right through here, our iliopubic eminence. We can see 6, superior pubic rami, inferior pubic rami, pubic tubercle. We technically can see that line right there too. That's that pectineal line. And remember, the pectineal line will continue to connect up. And as it does so, it's connecting into the arcuate line. And then remember, these two guys together, that's what made up our iliopectineal line. So if the structure is tagged with a series of dots across the line, you'd want to put that if it crosses the pubic bone and goes into the ilium. Okay, number 11 is our obturator foramen. Number 13 is our ischial tuberosity. And then in this area too, we also have the rami of the ischium. We have the ischial spine. We have the greater sciatic notch, which is here, and then we have the lesser sciatic notch, which is the structure right through there. Just for completeness, we also have posterior superior iliac spine, and then the structure here is our posterior inferior iliac spine. Head of the femur, neck of the femur, greater trochanter, lesser trochanter, and then remember, a line in between two structures would be inter, so this is the intertrochanteric line, because it's really just a line. We're really not going to see a raised surface or anything to indicate anything differently. This area right through here would be our surgical neck, and then this area right through here would be our anatomical neck. All right, now we're looking at the femur, proximal femur from the posterior surface, and we can tell that pretty easily because of these structures. We can see this structure here, our gluteal fossa, which gives it away. We can see the greater trochanter and see it kind of hooks here. And then we can see our lesser trochanter. Now, this raised area right through here also makes it easy to tell what we're looking at. This is the intertrochanteric crest because it's much larger. Here we have the head. Here we have the neck, the anatomical neck, I guess we should say. And then, of course, below was where we saw the surgical neck. Now, as we move into the femur, we're also going to see the pectineal line. So when we're looking at that structure and we look just underneath the lesser trochanter, number 6, this area right through here, this is the pectineal line. The spiral line is actually going to be a continuation of that line, and it's going to continue down as it goes into what's known as the linea aspera. Okay, and that's going to continue down this way, and it'll separate into a medial and lateral portion. Remember, we know this is medial this way because we have the head of the femur, and the head of the femur is always going to be pointing to the medial aspect. Okay, here all we're looking at really is that fovea centralis, that depression. It's a little circus or circular structure that connects the ligamentum teres femoral, or the femoral ligament that's essentially attaching that into the actual hip joint. So it's known as the ligamentum teres femoris, or the capitular ligament. Of course, we can see those other structures here. We can see these guys here, and you can go through and name those if you want to. Okay. All right, here we're looking at the distal femur. On the distal femur, we can see, number 1, our patellar surface. We can see our medial femoral condyle, our lateral femoral condyle. We can see the medial epicondyle, the lateral epicondyle. We can see our medial supracondylar line, our lateral supracondylar line, and then in this area, we'll typically see a bump from the adductor muscle, which is known as the adductor tubercle. The adductor magnus will attach like right here and go up and attach to the actual pubic bone this way, like that. And it creates this opening that structures pass through. Now we can see the backside, and we know it's the backside because we can see this intercondylar fossa, which means that this is a fossa and that this is a fossa. Now we need that tubercle to let us know that we're looking at this side as the medial side, because the adductor tubercle is on the medial side. The pectineal line will go to the opposite side, okay? So again, the pectineal line kind of goes to the opposite side, and that's how we can tell what's medial and lateral. Of course, it's much easier if you can just see the whole bone, which you'll be able to, and you'll see that. Okay, so that means number 4, that's our epicondyle. 5's that epicondyle. Here's our lines. We just said what those were. Okay, here's that line again. Okay, and we can see that line is going to be going all the way down, but remember, it's going to separate out, okay, a little bit. But in this situation, we can easily see the femoral head, which means this is the medial surface, this is the lateral surface, proximal, and of course distal. So we can see this line, the linea aspera. We can see number 5 where the adductor tubercle would be, and then we can see our femoral condyles, medial femoral condyle, lateral femoral condyle, and then the intercondylar fossa. All right, let's see, this will be on the next video.